You know those moments in horror movies where everything seems perfect at first, but there's this subtle feeling that something's just off? That was exactly how I felt when my husband James and I first drove through the gates of Oakwood Estates. The lawns were impossibly green, the houses looked like they were plucked from a magazine, and every mailbox was perfectly aligned like soldiers at attention. It should have been our first warning sign. We'd spent months house hunting in the competitive Silicon Valley market, and this beautiful colonial in Oakwood Estates seemed like a miracle. 4 bedrooms, a spacious yard, and actually within our budget. The catch was the HOA fees, $450 monthly, which made me wince. But our realtor assured us it was worth every penny for the amenities and property value protection. The previous owners, an older couple, tried to warn us during the final walkthrough. Just read the bylaws carefully, the wife said, glancing nervously over her shoulder. All of them. Her husband started to say something else, but she squeezed his arm and they hurried out. We chalked it up to senior eccentricity. Our moving day should have opened my eyes. We hadn't even finished unloading the first box when a sharp knock interrupted us. Standing at our door was a woman in a crisp pantsuit, clutching a tablet and wearing an expression that suggested she just smelled something unpleasant. Patricia Montgomery, HOA compliance officer, she announced, not waiting for an invitation before stepping inside. I'm here to provide your welcome orientation. For the next 47 minutes, yes, I timed it, Patricia walked us through a welcome packet thicker than my college thesis. She detailed rules about everything from acceptable paint colors, 47 approved shades, all varying degrees of beige, to proper mailbox height, exactly 41.5 inches from ground level. When she got to the garbage bin regulations, I actually laughed. 6 feet from the curb, handles facing the house, lids must be completely closed, and bins must be removed within 2 hours of collection. I thought she was joking. Patricia's face turned to stone. Mrs. Chen, she said, her voice dripping with condescension, Oakwood Estates maintains its exceptional property values through strict adherence to our guidelines. Violations are taken very seriously. She then spent 15 minutes explaining the proper procedure for submitting a external holiday decoration pre-approval form, required 30 days in advance, with color samples and proposed timing mechanisms for any lights. As she finally left, she paused at the door. Oh, and do remember to submit your moving truck parking variance form. They're due 48 hours in advance. That'll be a $150 fine for today's oversight. I stood there, check in hand, watching her march down our driveway with military precision. James put his arm around me. Hey, he said, trying to sound optimistic, at least we know they take good care of the neighborhood, right? Oh, how naive we were. Looking back now, I wish I paid more attention to the security cameras tracking Patricia's movement, or the way our neighbors quickly ducked inside when she passed. I wish I'd noticed how many for sale signs had lawyers' business cards tucked discreetly behind them. But mostly, I wish I'd read the fine print about what happens when you challenge the HOA's authority, because that's exactly what I was about to do. The violations started trickling in like a leaky faucet, slow, steady, and impossible to ignore. First, it was a warning notice for leaving our garage door open while unloading groceries. I'd been making multiple trips, and apparently our door had been open for 45 minutes. The HOA manual, which I was quickly learning to sleep with under my pillow, stated a strict 30-minute maximum. Warning notice number 1. Then came the grass citation. Our lawn was 3.5 inches tall, a full half-inch above regulation height. That cost us $50. When I pointed out that we just had a week of rain that made mowing difficult, Patricia suggested we should have planned better. Weather conditions do not exempt homeowners from compliance obligations, she quoted from memory. But the real trouble started with Emma's lemonade stand. My 8-year-old daughter had been watching videos about animal shelters, and her heart was set on raising money to help. She spent an entire Friday making signs, mixing lemonade, and planning her sales strategy. Saturday morning, she set up her little card table in our driveway, proud as could be in her animal helper t-shirt. Within an hour, Patricia materialized like a summons-wielding ghost. Section 7.32, she declared, tablet already in hand. No commercial enterprises permitted on residential properties. That's an immediate $200 fine. Emma's face crumpled. But it's for the puppies. The beneficiary is irrelevant. Patricia continued, snapping photos. All business activities must be pre-approved through proper channels. Additionally, that sign violates our temporary signage ordinance, and I don't see a beverage service permit. I lost it. A beverage service permit? She's 8 years old. Age does not exempt residents from compliance. Patricia's voice could have frozen lava. Would you like me to add a non-compliance fee for argumentative behavior? I paid the fine. What choice did I have? Emma cried all afternoon, not understanding why wanting to help animals was against the rules. That night, as I held my sobbing daughter, something in me snapped. The next morning, we received 2 more violations. Improper window covering visibility, $75. Apparently, our blinds were the wrong shade of white. Unauthorized gathering, $150, because 3 neighborhood kids had briefly stopped by to console Emma. James suggested we just keep our heads down and follow the rules. It's not worth fighting, he said. They've got all the power. But he was wrong. That's when I remembered something from my corporate accounting days. Follow the money, and you'll find the truth. I pulled out my laptop and started digging into the HOA's publicly available financial records. What I found made my blood run cold. Either our HOA board was completely incompetent with money, or something much darker was going on in our perfect little neighborhood. Numbers don't lie. That's what I always told my accounting clients, and the numbers in Oakwood Estates' financial records were screaming. Our HOA fees had increased 15% annually for 5 straight years. Simple math showed we were paying nearly double what residents paid in 2019. Yet somehow, our reserve fund was shrinking. The maintenance budget had tripled, but I couldn't see any major improvements around the neighborhood. Most suspicious of all, 3 companies kept getting all the contracts. Summit Property Maintenance, LLC, Evergreen Landscaping Solutions, Elite Security Systems Incorporated. Their bids were consistently 30 to 40% higher than market rate, yet they won every contract. I needed to see the board meeting minutes where these decisions were made. According to state law, HOA records must be made available to residents within 10 business days of request. I submitted my formal request on a Monday. On Friday, I received an email from Patricia. Document processing fee, $75 per meeting record. Estimated processing time, 4 to 6 weeks. Payment must be received before request will be processed. When I cited the state law about reasonable access, Patricia responded that their document specialist was on extended leave. How convenient. That's when I met Sarah Martinez. I was stress walking around the neighborhood, being careful to stay on the designated walkways to avoid another citation, when I noticed someone taking photos of Patricia's car. She quickly introduced herself as Sarah, a paralegal living 4 houses down. "Look at this," she said, showing me her phone. The car's registration was visible through the windshield, registered to Summit Property Maintenance, LLC. Over coffee in her kitchen, with the blinds carefully closed, Sarah shared her findings. She'd been investigating the HOA for months. "Patricia isn't just the compliance officer," Sarah explained. "She's Robert Montgomery's sister-in-law. And guess who Robert is?" "Our HOA president," I answered. "And the owner of Summit Property Maintenance. His wife, Patricia's sister, owns Evergreen Landscaping, and Elite Security run by their brother." My head spun. That's a massive conflict of interest. "It gets worse," Sarah continued, pulling out a thick folder. "Robert Montgomery doesn't even live here. He uses his sister's address to qualify for the board position. His actual house is an heirloom property, which violates our own HOA rules." I stared at the evidence Sarah had collected: property records, business filings, bank statements showing suspicious transfers. It was a masterclass in small-scale corruption. "Why hasn't anyone stopped them?" I asked. Sarah's face darkened. People who ask too many questions tend to find themselves buried in violations until they give up and move. Or their mortgage company gets anonymous tips about unpaid HOA fees. Or their insurance company hears about dangerous conditions on their property. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a new violation notice: unauthorized gathering in residential space. They were watching us right now. The game was on. They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but the HOA's retaliation came in hot and heavy. The day after my coffee with Sarah, our house became ground zero for routine inspections. Patricia or her minions from Elite Security were driving by hourly, documenting every possible infraction. Monday, 8:15 a.m., excessive door mat wear, $75. 11:30 a.m., non-regulation mailbox font, $150. 2:45 p.m., unapproved bird activity. Apparently our feeder was attracting too many birds, $100. 4:20 p.m., improper sidewalk edge maintenance, $125. Tuesday, 9:00 a.m., unauthorized wind patterns. Our wind chimes again, $50. 1:15 p.m., non-compliant garden hose color, $85. 3:30 p.m., excessive porch sitting. I wish I was making this up, $100. But they made a crucial mistake. In their eagerness to harass us, they got sloppy. One of the violation photos showed our garage from an angle that could only have been taken from inside our backyard. When I checked our security cameras, installed after the lemonade stand incident, I caught Patricia scaling our fence at 5:30 a.m. Trespassing. We had her on video. Sarah helped me file a police report, but the responding officer seemed unusually hesitant. Later, we discovered why. Elite Security had a special consultation contract with the local police department. The corruption ran deeper than we imagined. Through careful digging, we uncovered more connections. The document specialist on extended leave, Patricia's cousin, the company handling HOA fee collections, owned by Robert's golf buddy, the law firm threatening liens. Robert's brother-in-law was a partner. But the real bombshell dropped when Sarah accessed the county property records. In the past year, 12 homes in our neighborhood had been sold under market value. The buyer for each, shell companies all leading back to Montgomery Investment Group. The pattern became clear. The HOA would target certain homeowners with endless violations and fines, making their lives miserable until they sold, usually at a loss. Then Montgomery's company would swoop in to rescue them with a cash offer. They weren't just corrupt. They were running a sophisticated real estate scheme. I was documenting everything when a certified letter arrived. The HOA was conducting a special assessment of our property. They claimed to have received anonymous complaints about structural issues that could impact neighborhood property values. The letter ended with a threat thinly disguised as concern. Given the potential liability issues, we've taken the liberty of notifying your homeowner's insurance carrier. That night, I received a text from an unknown number. Back off or things will get worse. Much worse. They thought they could scare us into silence. They thought we would roll over and take it like everyone else. They had no idea what was coming. Sometimes the smallest things spark the biggest revolutions. For us, it was tomatoes. My mother had a stroke in July. After her release from the hospital, she moved in with us. Her Medicare-approved rehabilitation facilities were all mysteriously full. We later discovered Robert Montgomery's wife sat on the board of the largest rehab center in town. Mom's physical therapy was progressing slowly, but her depression was getting worse. She had always been an avid gardener, so I suggested we start a small vegetable patch in our backyard. Her face lit up for the first time in weeks. We did everything by the book. I submitted a landscape modification request with detailed drawings. After 3 weeks of silence, I assumed we had tacit approval per the HOA's own bylaws. Mom and I spent a weekend creating a beautiful 10x10 garden plot, completely hidden behind our privacy fence. The next morning, I opened our door to find Patricia and Robert Montgomery on our porch. This was new. Robert usually operated from the shadows. Section 9.14. Patricia began, but Robert cut her off. "This is a serious violation," he said, his fake concern almost convincing. "No visible food cultivation. It's behind a 6-foot privacy fence." I protested. "It's not visible from anywhere." Patricia triumphantly held up her tablet, showing a satellite view of our yard. "Visible from Google Earth," she declared. "Remove it within 48 hours or face a $500 fine per plant." I counted in my head 23 plants, $11,500 in fines. "My mother needs this," I said quietly. "It's part of her therapy." "You should have thought about that before breaking the rules," Robert smiled. "Although, I know a lovely assisted living facility that might have an opening." That's when Mom appeared behind me. She'd heard everything. "Young man," she said, her voice shaking with anger rather than weakness, "I've lived through wars, hurricanes, and 2 husbands. I've been gardening longer than you've been alive. You want these plants? Come and get them yourself." She turned to me. "Jenny, get my phone. I'm calling Diane." "Who's Diane?" Patricia sneered. "My sister," Mom smiled sweetly. "She's a reporter for the local newspaper. She loves writing about elder abuse and corruption, and she's been looking for a good story." Robert's smile vanished. "The HOA bylaws include a non-disparagement clause. Any negative media coverage would be protected speech," came a voice behind them. Sarah Martinez stood there with her law firm's senior partner. "And I'd love to challenge that clause in court." They left quickly after that, but we knew it wasn't over. That evening, someone sprayed weed killer over our garden wall. They missed the vegetables but killed Mom's prized roses. She brought clippings from her old house. Mom cried herself to sleep. I posted security camera footage of the attack on our neighborhood Facebook page. Within hours, we learned we weren't alone. The Pavels' ethnic garden destroyed. The Wilsons' wheelchair-accessible planters vandalized. The Rodriguez family's memorial garden for their daughter flattened. The HOA had finally gone too far. That night, we held our first resistance meeting. 37 households attended. The Great Garden War had begun. The first resistance meeting was held in the Wilsons' garage, carefully labeled as a permitted social gathering, with proper forms filed. 37 households attended. As people shared their stories, my blood boiled. The Paddles had been fined for excessive cooking odors during their daughter's wedding celebration. The Johnsons received daily citations about their son's wheelchair ramp being architecturally inconsistent. The Wilsons faced liens for displaying a pride flag. The Rodriguez family was threatened with eviction for holding a memorial gathering for their deceased daughter without proper permits. "They're not just corrupt," Sarah explained, projecting documents on the garage wall. "They're methodically driving out anyone who doesn't fit their ideal community image." Dr. Wilson, a data analyst, had mapped every home sale in the past 3 years. A pattern emerged. Homes of minorities, elderly residents, and families with special needs were disproportionately targeted with violations. We formed committees that night. Legal team, led by Sarah. Financial investigation, my group. Documentation team, Dr. Wilson. Community outreach, Mrs. Popple. Security, former police officer Mike Johnson. Our Facebook group, Oakwood Estates Home Owners Association, exploded to 150 members. We created secure channels for sharing evidence and coordinating responses. Then the threatening letters started arriving, printed on HOA watermarked paper. "Dear resident, your recent activities have been noted as potentially detrimental to community harmony. A special assessment may be necessary to address ongoing compliance issues." But they made a fatal error. The watermarked paper was traceable. Each batch had unique identifiers, and guess who kept the records? Patricia's cousin in document services, who had a gambling debt and a guilty conscience. He cracked after one meeting with Sarah's legal team. The evidence he provided was damning. Predated violation notices, fabricated complaints, internal emails discussing their targeting strategy. We were building our case when Robert Montgomery made his biggest mistake. He got cocky. At the monthly HOA meeting, he announced a new Community Standards Enhancement Program. Security cameras would be installed throughout the neighborhood, mandatory for all homes, provided exclusively by Elite Security Systems at $2,000 per household. To protect property values, he smiled. But we were ready. Mrs. Rodriguez stood up, live streaming on her phone. Before we vote, she announced, I have some questions about the previous security contract. The look on Robert's face was priceless. The war had moved from our gardens to their boardroom. We didn't know it then, but the next 48 hours would change everything. The HOA never expected us to fight back. They certainly never expected us to be smarter than them. Our teams worked around the clock. Sarah's legal team documented every bylaw violation by the board. My financial team traced every suspicious transaction. Dr. Wilson's data team mapped patterns of discrimination. Mrs. Patel's outreach team connected with former residents who'd been forced out. Mike's security team installed hidden cameras catching Patricia's 3 a.m. inspections. But the smoking gun came from an unexpected source, Robert Montgomery's teenage son's TikTok account. The kid had posted a house tour, including his dad's home office. In the background, a whiteboard with Danny notes about Phase 3, target list, and profit projections, post-cleanup. He literally filmed their conspiracy. Then Robert made his fatal mistake. He called an emergency meeting to push through a special assessment, $5,000 per household for critical infrastructure upgrades. The real purpose: Montgomery Investment Group was overleveraged. They needed quick cash to close deals on properties they'd forced into distressed sales. We were ready. Sarah filed injunctions blocking the assessment. My team submitted evidence to state banking regulators. Dr. Wilson's analysis proved systematic discrimination, a federal offense for HOAs. But our masterstroke: we'd invited special guests to the emergency meeting. 2 FBI agents specializing in real estate fraud, a reporter from the local newspaper, the state attorney general's investigator, and our secret weapon, Robert's first wife, who had proof he was legally married to 2 women in 2 states. The evidence was overwhelming. 5 years of forged meeting minutes, backdated approval documents, shell companies hiding property transfers, kickbacks from contracted vendors, systematic harassment documented in their own emails, bank records showing millions in misappropriated funds. When Robert tried to adjourn the meeting, the FBI stopped him. When Patricia attempted to delete files from her tablet, our IT team was already downloading them. The best moment? When they tried to claim they had acted within their authority, Sarah projected the real HOA bylaws, not the forged version they'd been using. They had violated their own fake rules. The arrests started that night, but we weren't done yet. We had one final card to play at the next day's court hearing, and not even Sarah knew about this one. Sometimes the best revenge requires perfect timing. The final blow came during the emergency court hearing. Robert Montgomery sat with his expensive lawyers, still somehow looking smug despite the FBI investigation. That's when my mother rolled into the courtroom. "Your Honor," she said, rising slowly from her wheelchair, "I'd like to submit evidence." She handed over a USB drive. "I may be old, but I know how to use a camera. I've been recording every interaction with the HOA board since they first threatened my garden, including conversations they thought were private." The videos were damning. Robert and Patricia discussing which families to target. Planning sessions about using building codes to force out undesirable elements. Phone calls with contractors about inflating bills. Their empire crumbled in hours. Robert and Patricia were arrested on multiple federal charges. The entire board was forced to resign. All contracts with their companies were voided. Every questionable fine was refunded. Liens against homes were removed. Former residents were given the option to repurchase their homes at original sale prices. The aftermath transformed Oakwood Estates. HOA fees were reduced by 60% after audit. New transparent bylaws were implemented. Quarterly financial reviews became mandatory. Community voting on all major decisions. Anti-discrimination policies with real teeth. And yes, gardens were explicitly permitted. I'm now the HOA treasurer. Sarah chairs the legal committee. Dr. Wilson handles data and compliance. Mrs. Patel runs community outreach. Remember that $5,000 special assessment they wanted? We used that money differently. Built a real community garden, installed accessibility ramps, created a cultural celebration space, started a neighborhood legal defense fund. The first garden plot, dedicated to Patricia. We planted bitter melons. Mom's garden is thriving now. The Rodriguez family's memorial garden blooms year-round. The Paddles host cooking classes in the community center. The Wilsons' pride flag flies proudly. Last week, I saw new residents touring a house. The realtor was highlighting our inclusive, transparent HOA as a selling point. Robert Montgomery's trial starts next month. I'll be testifying, wearing my non-regulation holiday sweater, of course. Oh, and that lemonade stand. Emma runs it every weekend. She's raised over $5,000 for the animal shelter. Sometimes fighting back isn't just about winning. It's about building something better from the ashes of corruption. And yes, our new bylaws specifically protect children's lemonade stands. Asterisk, the end asterisk. P.S. Patricia now lives in an apartment complex. Word is she's already been warned about her aggressive plant positioning on her balcony. Karma really is a beautiful thing.